We got the 1 minute and you were stepped out, but you made it back just in time.
Good evening, everybody. It is a beautiful Monday, May the 1st, 2023. This is the regular meeting of the South Haven City Council, and I'd like to call this meeting to order. In lieu of an invocation this evening, if you'll just please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. And now if you're able and willing, if you join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call. Megan.
Jeff Arnold.
Here.
Wendy Onuki.
Here.
Joe Reeser.
Here.
Steve Schlock.
Here.
George Sleeper.
Here.
Letitia Wilkins.
Here.
Scott Smith.
Here. That takes us to the approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second to approve the agenda.
Mayor,
Yes,
I'd
sir.
like to add to the agenda tonight.
Would you like to throw out?
Pardon me?
What would you like to throw out?
I would like to add before item number 14, I move to amend the agenda to add short-term rental regulation best practice report. That should only take a couple of minutes.
So we're saying 14A.
No, we already have a 14A, so this would be almost 14C.
Yep.
Who's going to be doing this report? Well, let's see if there's a second first, and then we'll see what we're talking about.
I'll second.
We've got a motion, we've got a second. So tell us who's giving the report?
Here's what I'm going to ask, is that we direct the city staff to report on short-term rental regulations from cities along Lake Michigan and find out what is working and what isn't, and basically get a report from them on the following cities: New Buffalo, St. Joseph, Holland, Grand Haven, Muskegon, Ludington, Traverse City, and Petoskey. And the report can be in writing, not a slide presentation. Just hand it to city staff and to the city council, and we can review it.
Okay. So, any other discussion on that item?
What was, can you read the motion again, please?
Sure.
One more time.
I move to direct city staff to prepare a report on short-term rental regulations from cities along Lake Michigan. The cities would include New Buffalo, St. Joseph, Holland, Grand Haven, Muskegon, Ludington, Traverse City, and Petoskey.
For what are you looking for, though? What's working or what's not?
Yeah.
What
is
does
the
that
status
mean?
along the lake with short-term rentals?
What does that
So
mean,
it's
though?
best practices. See if we can learn something from the other cities.
Just a report on what they're doing?
Yes.
You're thinking like a fact finding,
Yes.
and it would be something they could give to us and we could share with the public and
Yes.
with the public.
Would staff have any idea what the expense would be to do that and time?
I don't know. It would probably take, several weeks to call and find out. I'm not sure how in-depth you want to go. We have a very different zoning ordinance than other places. While we have some similarities, there's ways that people regulate, other cities regulate short-term rentals differently, so I'm not sure and how in-depth you're looking to go. Are there certain things you want us to look for?
Yeah. What is working in their city? How many do they have? And what isn't working? And we just hired another person part-time, I believe.
We haven't hired anybody. It's still open. We're doing interviews, but we haven't hired anybody just yet.
Okay, well, we will be hiring someone. Hopefully that'll help. But if not, our staff should be able to do it.
What is not?
We had last year one resident who is sitting here right now called different managers of the cities and different staff and got the information, but it's a year old now. And it didn't take him more than a few days.
Okay. All right. I can't guarantee how long it's going to take us, but I can see how long we can get it together, because
Sure.
we've got quite a list here, and I do know that many of these communities do have short-term rental conversations going on in their communities, so I'm not sure if that tells you about what's working, what's not, if they're having these continual conversations, but if that's what the council would like to do, that's what we can do.
Well, we won't know until we try.
Well, right now, it's on discussion just to put it on the agenda. I guess the only other discussion point is we have an upcoming rental discussion to be had, so people have to decide, do you want to add that to the agenda today for them to do or not?
So I guess my concern, anytime we add things to the agenda, is no one in the public is aware that this item is getting added to the agenda. So they don't have a chance to provide us with any input on these items because they weren't aware we were going to talk about it. It would seem to me more appropriate this could be discussed at our short-term rental workshop that we got coming up, so.
But this isn't really a discussion tonight. This is simply saying we agree or we don't agree that we're going to look at other towns and see how they're handling short-term rentals. That's all we're doing tonight.
I would tend to agree with George, though, that I think we are adding it to the agenda as a discussion item. We are having an upcoming rental discussion. It'd be very appropriate at that time to look at practices up and down the lakeshore. I don't think there'd be any disagreement at that time to have that looked. So why don't we just go ahead and let's vote up the
Change to
the change first, and then we'll vote on the approve the agenda. So let's roll call that first one, the change to add that item.
Arnold,
Yes.
Onuki,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Schlock,
No.
Sleeper,
No.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Smith.
No.
Motion carries.
Yep, it'll pass. All right, let's move to approve the agenda as written with the,
With the addition, yeah. I make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
A second?
motion second to approve the agenda as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
No, it's approved. All right, let's go. Sorry, we've got a proclamation at this point in time, so I will start it. George is going to help me finish it. Let me get to it. All right. This is good stuff. This is for our public servants here. So, whereas our residents are served every single day by public servants at the federal, state, county, and municipal levels, and whereas nearly 90 full-time and part-time staff members with over 777 combined years of municipal services are employed with the City of South Haven, and whereas nearly 60 seasonal, hardworking staff members are employed annually with the City of South Haven in order to keep our city beautiful and safe, and whereas in often difficult circumstances, including throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, our civil servants have worked and continue to work to protect and improve the quality of life for our residents, businesses, and visitors, and
Whereas public servants employed by the City of South Haven work at the South Haven Police Department, South Haven Area Emergency Services, the Department of Public Works, the Wastewater Treatment Plant, the Water Filtration Plant, the city's municipal marinas, and City Hall, and whereas Public Service Recognition Week has been celebrated the first full week of May ever since 1985 to honor the dedicated staff who serve our nation as federal, state, county, and local government employees. Now, therefore, be it resolved that City Council call upon our residents and all patriotic, civic, and educational organizations to observe the week of May 7th through the 13th, 2023, as Public Service Recognition Week, recognizing all public servants, past and present, who by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities have rendered a dedicated service to their communities. Signed, Mayor Scott Smith, City of South Haven, presented on this day, first day of May, 2023.
thanks, George. And again, thanks to all of our employees here at the city and throughout. So wherever they're running around there. So.
Thank you.
All right, and next we're going to get an update from our Van Buren County Commissioner, Ms. Gail Patterson-Gladney. Good evening, Gail.
Good
Welcome.
evening. Hi. Okay, I just wanted to let you know that 5 of the county commissioners were able to continue the celebration of the 125th 75th anniversary for MAC, Michigan Association of Counties. We went to Lansing, and while I was there, I was able to attend different workshops along with the other county commissioners. One of the panels that spoke included 2 history makers. One of them is Representative Joe Tate, who is the first black speaker of the Michigan House of Representatives, and the other is Winnie Banks, the first woman leader of the Michigan Senate. And both of them were part of a panel discussing the priorities of the state and how to make Michigan a better place for all of its residents. They also emphasized that they wanted to work across party lines, which is good. The CEO of the National Association of Counties, also called NACO, Matthew Chase, spoke about MAC being the oldest such organization in the United States, an organization that represents the counties, all 83 of the Michigan counties, and advocates for different issues in our counties. I wanted to mention, too, that there's going to be a closure of the Van Buren County on June 19th for the observance of Juneteenth. And also, I have a calendar to give you to your city manager about other closing dates. As many of you might know, we have had several county administrators, and our current one is John Fall. He is our interim county administrator. He came back to help us out, and we're glad to have him at the helm. We are applying, we have opened up applications for county administrator, and we have hired an agency to help us with getting our next county administrator. We have a new managing director of the Van Buren Road Commission, Brett Witkowski, and I have information for you on that, too, and contact information. The Friend of the Courts has officially moved into their new home. They will be hosting an open house for all elected officials, commissioners, and Van Buren County employees. That's going to be May 17th, 2:30 to 4 p.m. And they're in a new home at kitty corner to the administration office. And the address and everything, contact information, will be on the flyer I give to you. We have the new Van Buren County 2023 plat book that's now available. And anyone who's interested can contact the Van Buren County GIS Department at 657-8243 and area code 269. We also are welcoming our new finance director. As many of you know, we had been opening up that position for application, and our new finance director is Lorna Necciarini. I probably slaughtered her name, but I'll try to get better at that. I wanted to also tell you about the RAP grant webinar that's available. I don't know have you heard of that? Yes. Okay. And it's the MEDC Revitalization and Placemaking Grant application, and I will give that information.
Thank you.
If you already have it, you've got another set of papers there. Also, Southwest Michigan Planning Commission, which I'm on, we are going to be looking at the IIJA-BIF, which is, let's see how, I have to look at what those acronyms are, just a minute. The Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, or the Bipartisan Infrastructure Framework. And there's $1.2 trillion for investment in infrastructure. So I'm going to give you some of those pages.
Thank you.
Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
She's on the ball. Wow, that's great. All right, thank you. And then it's round 2 for the blight elimination grants, and the Land Bank of Van Buren County is announcing that the Land Bank encouraged its applicants to submit proposals consistent with the requirements listed in the RFP 2023-005 by 5 p.m. Friday, May 19th. And I'm sure you're familiar with that also. Okay, good. And then this was the information about the plat book. And also the dates when Van Buren County will be closed.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. The vital records fee and marriage license waiver fee has been increased by the county clerk. We received a report from our county clerk, Susie Rome, and that is on our website, but I will also give you that information too. And we haven't had increases in years, so now we're going to be having increases. I just wanted to say that the request to the increase was passed for vital record fees for $15 for the first copy and $5 for additional copies of the same record purchased at the same time. And there's an increase in the 3-day waiver fee of $25, and that's effective as of today.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Some of the ARPA funds, as some of you know, are still remaining with the county. We have not opened up the applications yet for new proposals, but what we are doing is looking at one of the proposals that did not pass, which was the youth program with Red Arrow Ministries. There is a committee getting together because we feel that the youth of our county really need help, mental health services, programs for them to do after school, on the weekends. And so Commissioner Kurt Dorrell, Paul Shinkario, and myself, plus David Manson from the VBISD, YDC and PAL, the Red Arrow Ministries, Luke's Light, the Van Buren County Mental Health Department, Paw Paw Village Players, the law enforcement in Covert Township, and the Sheriff's Department. We are all trying to get together to find out what is the best way to get the services to the children. Right now, there are free music lessons, guitar and voice lessons, theater lessons for some of the children who attend in Paw Paw through the Red Arrow Ministries. But what we want to do is open up services for more children, and so that's what we're doing. Hopefully, we can either apply for the get funds from the ARPA grant, or go through State Representative Joey Andrews. So we will let you know what happens with that, and if you have any great ideas, please let us know.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gail. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, that takes us to the consent agenda, items A through G.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda, items A through G.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion on those items? Any movement? Nothing. This is a roll call vote.
Onuki,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Schlock,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Arnold,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Motion
That
carries.
takes us to new business, and we're going to do some special events. We're going to take them as a slate. So, City Council will be asked to approve the following special event applications. First, we have special event application 2023-19, the Jazz Festival 2023, to be held on September 15th and 16th, 2023, from 4 p.m. till 10 p.m. at the Huron Street Pavilion and Dykeman Park. Next, we have special event application 2023-20, which is reading names on Memorial Day 2023, to be held on Sunday, May the 29th at noon on the front lawn at City Hall. Special event application 2023-21, which is the South Haven High School Senior Parade 2023, to be held on Sunday, May the 21st, 2023 at 1 p.m. on Monroe Boulevard, Water Street, Kalamazoo Street, and Superior Street to Radcliffe Field. And then, is that the one that's going to be, well, You can tell us later, Kathleen, one of those changed, sorry. Special event application 2023-22, National Travel and Tourism Kickoff to occur on Thursday, May the 11th, 2023, from 12 until 9 at the Huron Street Pavilion. And then special event application 2023-23, which is the National Blueberry Festival to occur August the 10th through the 13th, 23, in various locations around the city.
I'll make a motion to approve special event application 2023-19, special event application 2023-20, special event application 2023-21, special event application 2023-22, and special event application 2023-23 as read by the mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second. Kate, want to walk us through them? And if anyone's here that wants to speak, I think I see a few folks that want to.
All right, thank you,
Share.
sir. Jazz Fest, we have that coming back for another year. It looks to be similar to in years past. Same with reading of the names. The high school senior parade is listed in the agenda as going to Monroe Boulevard to Water Street, Kalamazoo, and then Superior to Ratcliffe Field. That was in part that when they put together this special event application, we had significant traffic, some road construction happening on Phoenix. That has now been resolved, I think, to much delight. So they are going to be going from Water Street to Phoenix Street to Bailey Avenue. So they'll be coming in on the east end of Radcliffe Field. So that would be the one change with that special event. We do have a new special event, the National Tourism Travel and Tourism Cook-Off. That will be on Thursday, May 11th. We do not have any conflicts with Farmers Market on that night. And we also have the special event application for National Blueberry Festival. This will be their 60th year.
All right. Any of those groups want to come and share? You don't have to, but if you want to. Jen, I figured you'd want to share. It's a pretty cool event. Come share. Good evening. If you just state your name and address and tell us the good stuff.
Sure. I'm Jennifer Sistrong. I recently just bought a home, so I am at 05320 Seawall Court in South Haven Township, so I'm really excited about that as of last Friday.
Nice. Congrats.
Thank you. I am also the executive director of the South Haven Visitors Bureau, which is right across the street. We're really excited that South Haven was picked among only 5 other destinations in the state to host National Travel and Tourism Week. So what that means, in the past, only one destination has been chosen. It's always been held at Mackinac Island, and this year they decided to expand that a bit. So we are among Charlevoix, which will be at Stafford's Weather Vane Restaurant. They will be at the Flint Market. They will be at Keewatin Casino Hotel in Sault Ste. Marie and South Haven on day 4. Day 1 is actually at the Big House in Ann Arbor, so it's really cool to have us compared with them. My staff member Trenton here and I will be there on Monday representing South Haven and getting everybody excited to be here. So that'll be happening on May the 11th from noon to 9. We're thankful that you all will allow us to be under the pavilion here, very similar to kind of like the farmers market. We've got some local food trucks that may have never had an opportunity to be there, so we've got some good local food trucks coming. We've got some music, we've got a DJ. And then the really exciting part is we have Pure Michigan here. So Pure Michigan, under the umbrella of MEDC, has chosen us to have a live webcast under the pavilion. Dave Lorenz, he's the vice president of Pure Michigan, and Tom Dalden from the show Under the Radar. It's a PBS show. I think it's been about 10 years since he's been here. So they will be live streaming that there. We have about a dozen locals of merchants and restaurants and just people in the industry that are here to share their stories and share all the great things that we're doing here in South Haven. It's really a testimony to what everybody is doing here and all the good work that you all are doing and, our locals and businesses and merchants. So I think it'll be a really good time to showcase what we have here. I hope everybody comes out because I was just on a radio station just recently and they said, there's a Michigan base, it's called Behind the Radar, and they said, Behind the Mitten. And they said, what we love about South Haven is the hospitality. They said the hospitality is unmatched here. We love to see people come here. We get excited. We want to share everything that we have. And it'll be a different experience. Everybody knows us for Lake Michigan, but we will be under the pavilion with all of our locals there, showing off all of our assets. So a few folks that have signed up to interview that night, we'll have 42N Naturals will be there, Three Blondes Brewing, Clementines will be there. There'll be somebody representing them. Sorry, I don't have my phone just glitched out here, but myself, hopefully we'll get somebody here from the Blueberry Festival. It just should be a really good representation of the community and well-rounded, and we hope everybody comes to join us because it's a big deal that they chose us among all those places.
Very cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Jen. Thanks for what you do. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Kate, you've got everything. Any public questions, any of that stuff? And if not, council questions? Nothing. I'll just say thanks to all of those that helped put those on, because those are pretty substantial. There's a lot of time involved to make those happen, and we appreciate everything that everybody does to pull those off. We've got a motion, we've got a second to approve the special events as just discussed. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. They are approved. Thanks again for coming out. All right, next, City Council will be asked to consider the approval of Resolution 2023-14, which is a resolution setting a public hearing date for the fiscal year 2023-24 budget to be held on May the 15th, 2023 at 7 p.m.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-14, which sets a public hearing date for the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget to be held on May 15th, 2023 at 7 p.m.
Second.
All right, we got a motion, we got a second. Pretty straight ahead.
This is part of our budgeting
Come back
process, Mayor. Pretty straight ahead. We set this date in advance, and that way we can get that published in the newspaper. This is a required public hearing, as required for cities in Michigan. Moreover, it's part of our budgeting process that we set out early in the year.
Okay, sounds good. Appreciate it. Got nothing? Got nothing? Public questions? Don't think so. Motion and second to approve that resolution. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Date is set. And next, City Council will be asked to introduce an amendment to Section 1406 of the zoning ordinance to allow the Planning Commission the ability to extend a site plan approval for up to 12 months.
I make a motion to introduce the amendment to Section 1406, the zoning ordinance, to allow the Planning Commission the ability to extend a site plan approval for up to 12 months.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Griffin.
Good evening. Appreciate the opportunity to bring this before you. Presently, when the Planning Commission approves a site plan, that approval is valid for 1 year. If construction has not begun at the end of that 1 year, the existing ordinance allows the Planning Commission to grant a 60-day extension. If construction has not commenced after that 60-day extension, should it be granted by the Planning Commission, the site plan approval would become null and void, and for that project to move forward, it would have to be reconsidered by the Planning Commission upon reapplication, repayment of fees, and going through that whole process again. Since the COVID-19 pandemic and some of the other impacts it caused, the supply chain and labor market have continued to still be greatly affected and not fully recovered. Projects, large and small, are facing delays because of these reasons. And while it's important to ensure that developers applying for site plan approval are serious and able to move forward, it's also important to ensure that the city and the Planning Commission have the flexibility to approve a reasonable extension. Based on a review that city staff has been doing, we found that the 60-day extension currently allowed in our ordinance is significantly shorter than most, if not any other, we can find. And really, in today's labor and supply market, a 60-day extension does very little, if anything, to give an extension to a previously approved project. So staff brought a recommendation to the Planning Commission last month for them to consider amending the existing ordinance to give the Planning Commission the ability to extend a site plan approval for up to 12 months, assuming that the applicant can bring a reasonable evidence before the Planning Commission of why that's deserved. So that's what we have before you all this evening for introduction. This was brought to the Planning Commission and recommended for approval on April 13th. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Sounds good.
Yes.
Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, my only comment is if we're serious about economic development, which I know we are, and we want to welcome companies to come here, this seems like a good thing. Why would we want to, after 60 days, have them reapply, pay fees? If we can open the door a little more and welcome these companies to stay and keep negotiating with us, I think it's a win-win for everyone.
I would agree.
Yep, very straight ahead. Any other questions on this one? Pretty straight ahead. Public questions on this one? Good evening. Come on up, state your name and address.
Mary Hasley, 726 North Shore Drive. I unfortunately was not able to make the April 13th Planning Commission meeting, and I provided comments this morning. I do not oppose the extension. Councilman Reeser makes a very valid point. I did find a typographical error, and I recommended some word changing, and I don't know if you've had a chance to discuss that with the attorney, whether it should go back to the Planning Commission or not. They seem pretty nominal, and it seems like it could be something that could go forward. In a time when we're recodifying the zoning ordinance to make sure it's simpler and more clear, I think my suggestions do that. And I would encourage the city council to consider and implement my changes. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Nothing. All right. We've got a motion. We've got a second to consider that change. And let's go. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. It is approved. Thanks, Griffin. Appreciate it. All right, next, City Council will be asked to consider approval of Resolution 2023-15, which is a resolution establishing rules for public comment during city council meetings. But before I take a motion, I'm going to jump off task. I want to have staff, kind of two parts of this, and I'd like them to kind of explain what they've found out. I know specifically Megan. So, Kate, do you want to sort of explain the gist of the first part, and I wanted to total minutes as well. So.
Yes, at the request of city council, we looked into just the normal, what occurs in other other city council meetings around the state. We also had the article that came out in the MML's review which talked about public hearings and city council meetings, which is really, the city council meeting is the time for the city council to do their business. This is the time we present an agenda, we go through a number of things, and this is the time to talk about finances, to approve payments and things of that nature. There is some confusion, I think, and I think that this is why council asked us to make a recommendation or to at least look at public comment, is that we are by far and away pretty unusual with allowing public comment on nearly every item. Most agencies, most local governments take public comment once or twice during an agenda, unless there's a public hearing on something. So we did reach out to Michigan Clerks Association, just get their input on what they normally do, and I think Megan can speak to that. But we've also seen that the Planning Commission has also tailored their public comment period on their agendas to, I guess, there's a lot of comments that need to be made, and I think this council very much appreciates the public comment, but we also need to be mindful of that nearly all of you work, and it's a long meeting if we're taking at least an hour public comment. So I think here was an idea to present to the city council where you have two public comment periods unless there's a special hearing or a public hearing that's been asked for.
Okay. And I think that was pretty clear. The other one that I had asked I was curious on is the 5 minute, because I had talked to other mayors and we were just having a discussion. 5 is a long period of time for public comment. I've talked to some that are 3, one that was less than that. So I was just curious. I asked you what was the norm. So.
Yes, so a lot of municipalities do limit it to the 3-minute public comment time. We are definitely one of the outliers in having 5-minute comments on every agenda item. A majority of the people I spoke to at the conference and both in the informal survey was just at the beginning and at the end. Once for everything on the agenda and then once for anything not on the agenda.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, appreciate it. So with that.
I'll make a motion to.
Go either way, we can kind of break them up, we can put them together.
I'll make a motion to consider approval of the resolution 2023-15.
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to consider the approval of resolution 2023-15 and leaving that, so that is written as a 5-minute. Want to approve that first and have the other second, or you go to 5? Just want to make sure.
Goes to 3-minute. Correct.
This is written as 5. I kind of pulled it aside separately. If people want to have that discussion, I mean, and we can also have that as a separate item if we want to kind of decide the format first and then,
Yeah, I thought it was going to 3 minutes as well on that resolution.
The resolution is written at 5, but if the city council would like to make an amendment to the motion to approve resolution with the amendment of changing the public comment from 5 minutes to 3 minutes, that would be an appropriate motion.
I'd like
that
to
your
amend
intent?
my motion.
there you go, okay.
I'd
It
like
didn't
to
get
amend my
seconded anyway,
motion
so-
to include changing the 5-minute to 3-minute public comment period of time.
Okay.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion, we've got a second. So now, everyone kind of understand what's up? So basically, it's, the format would be, we would have public comment beginning at the end as well as if there's a public hearing. So you'd continue to have public comment during all those times. And then the 5 minutes would go to 3.
I have a question.
Yes.
If it was, like, during the public hearing, if there was a pretty sensitive topic that we thought needed a lot of public input, would we be able to have that especially at 5 minutes? Or would it automatically be 5?
It
Or
would
3?
default to 3 unless there was some extenuating circumstance why someone would need an extension of their time.
Okay.
Moreover, I think, if I can weigh in here, I think that if council wanted to, prior to a public hearing comment period, if the council thought that there should be a lot more public hearing time, comment time per person rather than 3 minutes, you could make that motion at that time. Because otherwise, this is what would be the adopted, I guess, public comment rules for city council meetings.
Okay.
Does that make
So
sense?
what you're saying is, we could amend it prior to the public hearing if we wanted to, just
Right.
for that specific item?
Right, you could say, prior to taking public comment, that way everyone has the same amount of time.
Yeah.
You could say, for this public hearing, because of X, maybe it's a substantial public interest or whatnot, you could make a motion to extend the time to X amount of minutes, get your second, and have that approved for that public hearing, for that immediate public hearing.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And I do think, I don't know if everyone hears this, but a lot of just concern about length of meetings, and we're not getting everybody coming just because the meetings are going long. So it's my hope that maybe we can get a little more participation from others in the community. They'll feel more like coming in, speaking to us. So I believe there's something to be said for getting through these agendas in a more timely manner. So if there's no other questions, we'll take some public question or comments on this, and then we'll go on. Public questions, comments. Good evening. Just state your name and address.
Anthony at 125 Elkenberg. So we're limiting the number of times we're going up, correct? To public comment on open issues and then general open comments to things that aren't on the agenda. Is
And
that
then if there's a public hearing as well.
right?
So anytime there's a public hearing,
Right.
that would also be a time to speak.
So kind of how the Planning Commission has it set up right now.
Correct.
Okay. So my comment is, as it stands now, we have up to 5 minutes. And if I was on the council, I would be wanting to hear public comment. And I think it's important for the public to be able to comment. Limiting it to 3 minutes when you had that town hall meeting on short-term rentals, what was it, 2 minutes for that?
That was 2.
And it just seemed that no one got to get their point really across because their time was so limited. I am against changing the amount of time to do it, just from a person in the public, and I would hope that all of you would want to hear from us up to 5 minutes if need be. Thanks.
Thank you.
Joe Wilkins, PD 11, Indiana. I just want to echo what the young lady said prior to me. I think that the time frame is not what's stopping people from coming. I think it could be that they're not believing they're being heard. So I am totally against limiting the public comment because you should want to hear what the residents have to say, especially for people that are just coming out for the first time. You got to get the nervousness off you, shake it off with about first 2 minutes. And if you limit them only to 3 minutes, you're going to miss half of what most of the newer people that's coming in. I mean, it could be threatening standing up here. So limiting that time is not good, I don't think. And you talked about you're benchmarking what other cities are doing. I think South Haven is extremely blessed because in other city council meetings, they get to interact, and the council has to respond to questions. You guys don't have to be forced to do that. You just sit there when someone asks you a question, you don't say anything. But in a lot of other council meetings, the council have to respond, so you get a lot of interaction. You get to really know what the residents are thinking. So now to limit that to 3 minutes, you're really not going to know what they're thinking or what their concerns are. So I'm totally against shortening it, especially the public comment part. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it.
Mary Hasley, 726 North Shore Drive. I appreciate the need to balance meeting lengths with public comment. My concern is that the balancing being struck in the proposal before you falls short, especially if you're cutting back the amount of time. I urge you to consider a slight modification to better engage residents, your constituents. I will use today's agenda as an example in support of what I be suggesting. So you have the 3 comment periods. You have the agenda items for which there is no public hearing immediately following the council's approval of the agenda, which I think is an excellent change in order. Thank you. You then have the comments on the public hearings and then the non-agenda items. If the proposed resolution were applied to today's agenda, please correct me if I'm wrong, but it appears that everyone would have only the 1 comment period immediately following the approval of the agenda because there's no public hearing. But you are taking votes on matters. So we would have 3 minutes to discuss how many? 19 agenda items? And I feel that at a time when we're supposed to be engaging our community, this is taking a step backwards. I urge you to set up public comment for any regular agenda item on which the City Council will make a final vote. And using today's agenda as an example, the following agenda items would each have an individual public comment period. The special events, you could group them all together like you did today, this item, the ARPA funds, and then the 2 items in the grants. Especially when the items are added after 5 p.m. on the Friday before the Monday agenda, like number 13 and number 14, where the staff memo was actually dated before the original agenda packet was sent out. I think it does not support community engagement by not only cutting back the number of hours, but also cutting back the opportunity to speak. Although the recent article describes some extreme examples, we don't have that. We are, as has already been said, we're very lucky to have an opportunity to speak. That article does remind council rules of the procedure are local regulations. So let's make it local for us. What is unique for us? And for us, a critical item right now is public engagement. And this proposal steps back from that. It does not support it. I have to agree with the previous speakers. I don't think it's the length of time that prevents people from coming. I think it's that they don't feel their voice is heard. Exactly what happened to me in the previous agenda with the suggestion I made. There was no comment whatsoever towards it. So hence, I encourage you to make a nominal change, but a significant one, to fully engage the community on items on which our elected officials will be voting. Comments on agenda items for which there is no final action would be after the agenda is approved. Comments on each item for which there's a final action, we would have an opportunity to comment, and then the non-agenda items. As you see, setting or amending these procedures is a fairly simple process, and the rules can be modified again if it does not provide the balance needed between length of meetings and citizens' access to comment before our elected officials vote on matters affecting our community. Last, if my suggestion is unfortunately not accepted, there appears to be yet another typographical error that I found in the resolution. In the sentence, you have do as opposed to doing. Further, council may, by motion, adopt different public comment procedures for a specific meeting when doing so would assist the council in conducting its business.
Thank you, Mary, appreciate it.
David Veenstra, 1220 Monroe Boulevard. I do believe this goes the wrong direction. I think we need to encourage citizen input, and I've really appreciated coming to council meetings and hearing citizens be able to give input on most of these items. I think possibly in some cases, if we wanted to cut back to 3 minutes, that might not be terrible. But if we really consider the amount of time that that would save over the course of most meetings, I think we're really talking a nominal amount. And at a time when I see and hear a lot of citizens expressing that they don't feel heard, that they don't feel listened to, I just think it sends entirely the wrong message. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody?
Danielle Veenstra, 1220 Monroe Boulevard, and before I heard my fellow citizens speak, I thought this was a good idea. But in listening to them, it makes me realize how our voices can help one another as citizens, but also help you as our leaders come to an understanding of where we are at. I'm not the kind of person that picks up the phone and calls my council people. You're probably grateful that I don't, because I'm sure I know my husband does. But this is my opportunity to engage, but also to hear my fellow citizens. And my mind was changed by listening to them, realizing that our engagement here matters, and it ought to matter to all of you. I've taken up a very small amount of time. Most people who come up here don't use their full 5 minutes. Some people come up here and they are very well informed. I typically come up here and shoot from the heart because I've come to love this city, and I'm so frustrated when I feel like we're not heard. Please keep listening and allow us the time to speak.
Thank you. Anybody else? Going once, going twice. All right, City Council. Joe.
A couple comments. I think the worst thing that could ever happen to this community, and I've said it before, is for people to become apathetic. And so the opposite of being apathetic would be
Joe,
engaged.
I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. The worst thing that could happen to this community would be to become apathetic, for the residents to become apathetic. And I think that's far from happening in this town. People come here because they want to talk, they want to be heard, and they want to hear from us. As far as 3 minutes or 5 minutes, maybe there's a compromise, but if there's not, then I stick with 5 minutes because I do want to hear what people think. On items not voted on, maybe we could do 3 minutes, but short of that, I'd rather keep it to 5 minutes. Public engagement, I think, is everything. We need to hear it. I do have one question, Scott and Kate. This is really more addressed to you. I'm not sure of the answer, so it's a question. I've been told recently by residents that at city council meetings in other towns, and this goes back to why I like to do best practices, find out what other communities are doing. I've heard that residents can stand up and talk to city council and have a back and forth discussion. I don't know if that's true or not, but it seems to me, as a councilman, if people stood up and had questions or comments, it would be great if someone up here, especially you, Scott, when you know something that maybe the rest of us don't know, if you could actually address it. And I'm not looking for an argument with people, of course, but just maybe a little give and take back and forth so people feel like they're being heard. I think sometimes people stand up and talk, sit down, and they have no idea what we're thinking about up here. So
I can't answer
and
that.
I don't know if that's part of this discussion or not, but it's something that's I've always thought about.
Go ahead. Well, I'll let Kate and I'll jump in too.
Well, I can't answer that. As you know, we've done many trainings with the MML over the years, learning about how to run a proper meeting, Open Meetings Act, FOIA, and actually every time we have that come up about meetings, the proper the best practice is to say, thank you for your comment, and not engage like that. You're receiving their comments. And if you're looking for something to have further investigation, you can say, city manager, can you follow up with this person about their comment? I've never seen with the best practices around the state to encourage boards to have that direct interaction, because as I said before, I think the article really states it, and this is all the teachings that we get from the MML, is that you're here to receive the public comment while you're doing your business and to take in that public comment. And be aware that this is only one type of public comment that you're receiving. There's lots of public comment that you receive in the grocery store, emails, texts, or out walking, or out on a walk. There's lots of places that city council members receive public comment. But this is one place that you do receive public comment.
Yeah, and I would say if it's something that's relatively simple, that we could answer something, I think it could get a little bit of a slippery slope if it's kind of someone, maybe go in for something that we may not have the answer to, or that might be controversial, and try to get it, kind of lead us into something where we don't want to be, if that makes any sense. I mean, I will often, defer to staff if it's something we could answer quickly. You also run the risk of, someone then coming up and kind of going after an individual council member on a topic. I mean, I think if it's something simple we can answer, of course we would answer it. If not, to defer that question, we could obviously email somebody, could be answered at a future meeting. So, I mean, clearly we want people to feel like, your questions are heard. I mean, that's critical, and we should be following up with, what's the answer to your question? So, clear as mud? Right.
I just wanted to say, after listening to people, and I kind of am leaning more toward the 5 minutes also, just because I think it's consistent with what the Planning Commission does. I believe the Planning Commission is 5 minutes. I kind of like having those two numbers the same. And I think taking the first step to reduce the number of opportunities for public comment, I kind of would like to see how that goes first. And then reduce the time frame if further we need to, do that, I guess.
Yeah, after hearing that. Yes, we might have to strike down one and vote again, which is okay, which is I'm kind of sensing after that discussion, which I would tend to agree. So,
Yeah, I agree with George as well. The thing in the packet that really struck me the most, I guess it's the most basic thing of what a city council meeting is meant to do. And I know one of the quotes says, township board meetings are not town hall meetings where everyone has a say in the decisions. That, I don't know, that just kind of threw me a little bit. I understand where it's coming from, but I always take the public comment and let that weigh in my decisions that I'm making up here. And like Kate said, it's only one part of the comments that we get from our constituents, but I still think it's an important part. So I don't know. That was of interest to me. And I don't know, if we need to even talk about at some point, what are these meetings meant to do, and define that a little bit more, if that makes sense.
sure, I understand what you're saying, but yeah.
Okay.
Obviously, the most critical thing is to get business done. I mean, that's, we're here to, get the business done at hand and get that taken care of. So it sounds like we might have one might be a little more of a struggle, but then we'll have to come back and put back the original, if that makes sense, vote up what was there, and then we might come back to the original.
Yes.
Does that sound fair?
Well, I was going to say that I certainly like the idea of 3 minutes because it gets us a chance to hear from more people. I like that. We got to hear a lot of people at the short-term rental workshop. And I like that Wendy said, well, ask the question, and Kate said, yeah, sure. If it was a hot button issue, we could certainly switch back to 5. Fortunately, we have excellent public speakers that come see us regularly, and they are really good at it, and I know they would get it in the 3 minutes. But then Pastor Wilkins mentioned that nervous people might struggle. And I certainly see that with young people when they're speaking publicly. So I certainly could go either way, but yeah, perhaps we need to separate this out.
Yeah. I'll just echo that. I think part of me, I view 3 as a way to get more input, to hear more people. But I also hear what everybody's saying, so. How about if we take the first one with the amendment to 5, we can come back to it, and then just take it as.
We'd have to first vote this down,
We have to vote this down.
and then if
Right.
someone's interested, they can make a new
Exactly. And then we'll just,
motion.
we could follow it up. So let's go ahead and just, we roll call the first one, then we'll go to the second one. I think we'll know where we're going, so.
So on the original motion to amend to 3 minutes, Reeser?
You're asking me, do I want to amend it to 3, or do I want to keep it at 5?
Correct.
5 minutes.
Okay, so no. Schlock?
Yes.
Sleeper?
No.
Wilkins?
No.
Arnold?
No.
Onuki?
No.
Smith?
I'll hesitatingly say no for now.
Motion
I would-
fails.
Very good. All right, so let's take it, the original.
So I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-15 with the original 5-minute time for comments.
Second.
All right, motion second. So same concept we've been discussing, but to 5. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Passes. Very good. We got there. And we could still have further discussion about your point, the intent, and if we want to look further at total time discussed or total time to talk, we can do that later. Step 1. Thanks, everybody, for your comments. You were heard. So next,
13.
13. City Council will be asked to discuss and authorize the allocation of the American Rescue Plan Act funds. Ms. Kate, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor.
And Bill.
So we have a remainder of the American Rescue Plan Act funds. We have received $460,460.27. Parks and Recreation Facilities and Maintenance expenses are allowable usage under ARPA. This is our second tranche, second disbursement of these funds. The first funds were used in the water line replacements. We used that as matching funds to match what other SHASA entities had matched, as well as the county had given us a match. So we put all that money into the water service line replacements. We do have this second tranche, and we can use these, we can wait to commit these till 2024, but they have to be used by 2026. But recently, there have been some emails that have been coming to city staff saying that you might want to get these used and committed ASAP because they're looking at recalling these funds. So if you've not used these funds, they're probably not going to give you the full time to use them. So this would be a good time for you to commit these funds as soon as possible. We recently heard this from the GFOA and other entities have been talking about this. So this is why it's before you tonight. We do have some projects that have been kind of on the back burner that we've looked at. Bill Hunter has put together a staff report talking about some of the uses that we can use this $228,000. The first one is Kids Corner Option 1. And Bill, do you have, I can put this up on the screen, but we can kind of show you some of the items out on Kids Corner that we'd like to use this to fund, and this would be for a lot of the site work. Bill, do you want to jump in? While you jump in and talk about this, I'll get this up on my screen.
Yes, in the council's staff report, there's an attachment, and there is the plans for the alternate. I highlighted, you'll see it in there, it's a trail that goes around there. That is part of the alternate, sometimes it's called the enhanced option. With that too, you'll see 2 segments. There'll be one to your south of the main. The main is right in the middle. And then you have highlighted to the south of that a section which would be for the zip line, and then 2 other features. And during our budget meeting, it was brought up of what can we do for the surface, and one of the ARPA requests, ARPA option 1, would be just to handle all the surface preparation. So having the pour in place done, having the trail done, so which allows us actually just to get structures, play structures, and put them in those areas. So that gets everything ready to go. Also broke down in there is what it would cost actually for the enhanced structures, which is over there in your right-hand corner, some of the ones they call for example, C, which would be the merry-go-round, that's actually up in the main portion. That wasn't called for, it was in the alternate. And then you have D, which is the zip line, that's towards your south. The spider is actually over to the west more. And then there's the the other structure, which is F, which would be right over in the middle. So what you're looking at again is 119,637. That covers the surface area and the trail. Separate for that, to get all the structures for this and the enhanced portion would be 256,000 approximate.
So moreover, so that's the Kids Corner portion. We also threw in a couple other things that we knew were kind of outstanding. I'm not sure if you've seen the South Side Marina lately, but the south and west sides are looking a little rough. We will hope to put about $5,000 towards the ARPA funds, towards repainting that structure. And we also have the DPW ladies' bathroom, which comes in around $108,000. So whatever we don't have, we have already allocated for that in our 2023-24 budget from the 401 Capital Improvements Fund, but this would be something we could get in there right away. Of course, I should say, while we could say we get in there right away, meaning this would be done in 2023-24, it takes some time to get contractors lined up for those kind of jobs. That's why it will not be done in this fiscal year. But those are some options we put out there. Of course, if council would like to see all of this money going to Kids Corner, that is also another option. We do know that there is other things to put in there, the merry-go-round, the zip line, the double track, the rope climber, and the Dynamo Quad Pod Spinner. Those are all different elements that can be placed on this site plan after the site plan work has been done. So those can be independently fundraised. Of course, that is on our next item, which is the Spark Grant, but these are other items that we can either go out and fundraise, or we can look to see if Spark Grant can fund, or we can throw some more ARPA dollars at this. So we wanted to kind of provide that to council and see which way is your pleasure.
Okay. I like the fact that you're getting two things addressed, I will say that. So I like the option of getting that bathroom issue addressed, as well as getting the stuff set for the future features at the park. So, go ahead.
Yeah, I remember when I first got on city council, our prior city manager, Brian Doucette, made a comment that I didn't understand at first. And he talked about the fields, football, baseball, whatever, at the high school, and the fact that the water didn't have the right irrigation and it was causing problems on the field. And he made the statement that people that look to come to this community look at our high school, including the sports fields. It's a big issue. I don't have any kids in high school, so it never dawned on me that that's a big issue. But for a lot of people, it is. And he said that could actually affect people coming here or not. So now I think back to that when I look at Kids Park. I just wonder, should we spend whatever it takes to make it beautiful, to attract people? Would that help bring more families, young people into our community, or have them have more enjoyment while they're here? And when we all talk about tourism, would that help tourism? It's just a thought. I don't know the exact answer, Bill, which part we should build or not. I just say make it as beautiful and as complete as possible, because it plays into the whole well-being of our community.
I would agree. And yes, I would agree, the sports fields are equally important, so that's a whole separate discussion. But yes, people absolutely look at the facilities, the schools, the fields. It's all part of it. If you're looking to bring your family here, you want good schools, good fields, so absolutely.
So, Bill, so say we go with the recommendation is to send ARPA funds to part to Kids Corner, part to the Department of Public Works locker room, and then the painting of the South Side Marina. And then say we already have some capital funds set aside for the locker room, and we get the Spark Grant for, or say we don't get the Spark Grant for Kids Corner, could we move some of that money that we'd allocated to the DPW locker room that now is being funded through ARPA funds, and maybe relocate that to fund some of the Kids Corner stuff? Did you follow that? I kind of
did.
lost myself there, but.
I did, and I would say the answer is yes. We have the 401 capital plan, capital improvement plan, capital improvement fund, rather, and that's something we put money in over time to let it build up. And if there's something that we can do that is capital improvement, then I believe this would fall within that. We can use those funds, and if we can match them with any donations from the community, that would be another way that if things fall through with this second, our Spark grant application, that's a way we can get that done as well.
Yeah, and I do think it's important we apply for some of those grants, because I think there is more money out there, and we're seeing the states trying to push a little bit more into Parks and Rec this year. I know they bumped up that budget, so we might pick it up on that second round of Spark.
When would we find out about that?
When's the next round? Later?
Applications are due June 20. They start right now, so we just got notice that they're open, so I already started actually putting stuff in there anticipating. But they close June 29th. So usually probably 30 days to 45 days after that, we would find out. So probably August, middle of August. But if you look at the time frame too, if city council decides to go this direction, I now have to start a discussion with the primary contractor to get a time frame on prices and stuff, which then a time frame actually when they could construct it. So we do have some times. I don't anticipate we would want to actually do anything in Kids Corner during the prime summertime. I usually want to keep everything outside of, like, to call it the bookends, Memorial Day and Labor Day, especially in a park and especially in that area. I wouldn't be looking at any kind of construction until after Labor Day. So it does give us some time finding out about that. In that meantime, we're still getting the design for the bathroom. We do have the preliminary one already ready to go. There was some adjustments I had to do with the turning radiuses, because ADA is looking at changing the radiuses and making them a little wider. So in anticipating that, we changed the design just slightly to accommodate future usage of wheelchairs within the facility. So they're working on the price for that. So we still, once we get that done and I get that report back to city council, there's still some time of what that cost is, and then authorizing the architecture to start the bid packages and get it. So we have some time here before we find out actually Spark Grant, which actually works to what George was saying.
Okay.
That makes sense.
That makes sense.
When are we expected to receive the funds?
We have the funds.
We have them already. And where are we getting our information from that they may pull it if we don't use it?
We receive that from the government funding, from the finance director. She receives information from government fund accounting. And they're hearing
What
this.
does that mean in simple terms? to me?
Simple terms, this is the organization that determines how we do our accounting standards and how we report certain things to the federal government. And so they're hearing from their federal counterparts that this money will be called back if it is not being used.
I seen an article on it as well. Shortly after that discussion we had with Michelle, I seen an article on CNN about it, discussion. The feds are actually looking at anything that's not obligated. Now what they're trying to figure out is what's obligated.
That's right. If you have not committed these funds or spent these funds, they will be likely calling them back.
Mhm.
Now, they haven't told us exactly when that would be happening, but rather than give up this free money, we'd like to allocate it and use it.
Thank you.
With that in mind, I'd like to make a motion to allocate the American Rescue Plan Act funds.
As discussed.
As discussed.
With the Kids Corner and the bathroom and the painting.
Yes, the three projects.
The Kids Corner, DPW improvements, and the
and the
South
painting.
Marina painting.
Second.
Yeah, sorry, we discussed a lot of stuff.
And a second. Any other discussion? Or shall we get a quick public comment and then?
Mhm.
Sure. All right, public comment? Seeing none. All right, we've got a motion. We've got a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. It is approved. Very good. Next, City Council will be asked to consider the following items regarding Kids Corner Project Phase 2. Let's just do them both together. Approve a change order for the Spark Grant application in the amount of $6,346.26. Is that right? Yes, authorize the staff to execute the necessary documents, and then authorize staff to resubmit our Spark Grant application in the amount of $256,188, authorizing staff to execute the necessary documents.
I make a motion to approve a change order for the Spark Grant application in the amount of $6,343.26, authorizing staff to execute the necessary documents, and authorize staff to resubmit our Spark Grant application in the amount of $256,188, authorizing staff to execute the necessary documents.
Second.
All right, motion second. Back to you. Pretty straight ahead.
Pretty straight ahead, but what we're trying to do is apply for any of the equipment that we've seen in the alternate. With the exception, actually, I did notice in the staff report that the merry-go-round I have that, but it's not in the total. That actually is separate, and that's in the main play area. So the 27,900 on the top, that's not included in the total. The total is to reflect actually the zip line, landscape structures, the rope climbing, and the dynamo quad spinner. That's for $256,188.
Sounds good. Thank you. Appreciate it. Questions here? Nothing? Public questions, comments here? Nothing. All right, motion second to approve the change order for the Spark Grant and authorize staff to resubmit the Spark Grant. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. It's approved. And then we have item C, which was just to direct staff to look for best practices related to short-term rentals in the cities listed. Like what you had down?
So if I may, I'm not sure if I'm interrupting the motion here, but I did
Very
want to
good.
be clear that you, if I got I think you have 8 communities on there: New Buffalo, Holland, Ludington, Petoskey, St. Joseph, Grand Haven, Traverse City, and Muskegon. Did I get them all?
Yes.
Okay.
So that was so we had that motion, or sorry, we have a motion, sorry, we have the items.
We
have
just got it
the
on the
items
agenda,
on there.
yeah.
So yeah, so it's an agenda item, so. Anyone want to,
It was kind of your,
you want a motion
A
to,
motion
yep,
to have a short-term rental regulation report prepared that would state what other cities are doing and the method of regulation short-term rentals on the stated cities.
Second.
all right, we got a motion and a second, so discussion, I think we understand what it is. My biggest concern is just going to be staff time.
yeah, that's what I want to make sure.
Because that's
That's kind of my question, that what we're thinking about, and I'm just thinking out loud, we would like to get maybe a copy of what those cities are doing, what they have in the books. Is this, Joe, you made the motion, so I'm kind of looking at you for this. What do they have in the books? And then maybe whoever Kate delegates to do this, then maybe reaches out to their counterpart and says, well, what works good and what works bad? And just an email back, and then they would type that up for us. And is that what you had in mind?
Yeah, and make it as objective as possible, so it's not, you're not spending a lot of time getting the information. So it's real simple. Get what is the regulation now, and how many do they have? That's simple. You don't even have to do an analysis, just find out what their regulations are, as close to black and white as you can, and how many do they have, so we can compare ourselves to the other cities. And if, during that information, Kate, if they offer you a subjective part, which is, it's working for us, it's not working for us, fine, but if you can't get that without taking a lot of time, just get the other 2 parts.
It probably would be handy to have when we get
And
to
then
the,
give it to us in written form, no PowerPoint presentation. Make it as simple as just something we can look at to see where we stand versus other cities along Lake Michigan.
I feel like having that information going into any more discussions or another workshop or whatever would be really helpful to kind of guide us to where we want to be.
So the
I
intent.
support that.
I'm sorry.
You're fine.
So the intent would be to have this before the next short-term rental workshop? Is that, the motion didn't include a time frame when to get it done?
And
so-
I didn't put a time frame on purpose because Kate knows better than I do. I can't tell her how quick she can get it done, but if we could have it before the next workshop, that would be great.
Okay, I think we can. I know that we are looking at future short-term rental workshop dates. Right now, we're looking into June, so I think we can get that done before then.
So if you could get it by then, that'd be great.
Okay.
You going to take public comment on this, or?
I think we will. So,
I'll wait to comment till after that.
Any public comment? I think just suggestion to add that item? Nothing? Okay.
That was quick. I'm not, I don't know, I'm a little confused as to what we're looking for. If you're looking for example, like New Buffalo, what they do, it's a totally different town. I don't think we can compare ourselves to them. Holland, Saugatuck, whatever the towns we are, we're pretty unique here. For example, I think it was read to us one time about the mayor of New Buffalo. It was a letter or something to the city council, and I guess my question for that is, for example, how much tax income does New Buffalo get from the casino? We don't have a casino in our yard to help us with our infrastructure and our other tax bills and everything else, or tax income. So I don't know what we're trying to gain by comparing ourselves to other communities. I think we get great public input from our citizens here now, but to try and compare us to other towns and what they're doing, I think it's, I don't know how long staff would allocate time to this, but I don't think I'm for allocating staff time for this when we're having trouble enforcing and having enough staff time to enforce the ordinance that we have on the books now. So I guess if the staff tells me the report that you're looking for is going to take them an hour, and I guess I'm probably okay with that. But if it's more involved, and I really don't understand what we are to gain. We've had, I think another citizen stood up at another time, said we study. I've got the studies that we've been through and read through, and I'm ready for the workshop. I just don't know what we're going to gain by finding out what totally other different communities are doing with different income revenues that those cities would have bearing on what we are in South Haven. But I guess I would have to have staff tell me what kind of time frame they're looking at or what they're doing and the cost of it. But I think to have it put on the agenda without knowing the cost and staff time, I think that was the wrong decision to make tonight. Thank you.
Good point. Yeah, I guess it is important we understand the staff time that's going to be required of that, so I guess that is a concern.
If I could just make a comment, was I think our number 3 most important priority for this past year becomes our number 1 priority starting July. So I don't know how we can put a pencil to it and say it costs too much to do it. Again, there was a resident last year sitting in this room, if he wants to identify himself, but he picked up the phone and in a couple of days called most of these cities and talked to someone that seemed to know what was going on. And I was surprised, quite honestly, but what other cities are doing. And a minute ago, we were talking about public comments, and Kate said, well, this is, and I'm not quoting you, Kate, but something like this is what other towns do. So we do, from time to time, refer ourselves to other towns. They are different, Steve, you're right. But if you did enough towns, and there's quite a few here that we can look at, you start to get some impression, what direction are other towns taking on short-term rentals? And don't quote me, but I remember reading about Traverse City, and I don't know if it was the city manager or the mayor said, our concentration's going to be on high-tech industries. I found it really interesting that one of our lakeshore communities is going to concentrate solely on or largely on high-tech industries. And so I think we can all learn from what other communities are doing, especially short-term rentals. And there's no hidden agenda to this. I'm not trying to find pro or con. I just want to have some basis for what other communities do. I think there's a lot of other smart communities with smart city councils that we can pick something up.
Agree.
I just have a quick question. Mr. Reese, you said our residents already talked to some of the surrounding areas. So do we already have some of that information, or?
Well, I think it's getting old now, so when things change, so
We said it
thought-
was last year.
Yeah, I think it was about last year when it was done. So I just have confidence in our city staff that they have the connections with other cities. They could pick up a phone and get somebody to give them some of this basic information.
So basically, all we're looking for is just.
What is their regulation now, and how many short-term rentals do they have versus their population? It gives you some idea where we stand. I've heard people talk about, we have more short-term rentals than any other three towns combined. I have no idea if that's true or not. I've heard numbers thrown around constantly on that. So I just like to know going in, and this is not some study, this is simply what are other cities doing with short-term rentals? It seems like a fair request.
Okay.
We've had that for past workshops, something similar to that. So, gathered up again. So, all right, so motion second to have staff gather that information and bring it to us when you get it done. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no.
No.
All right, it passes. And let's go on. City Council is going to receive an update from Mr. Bill Hunter, our Public Works Director. Good evening, Bill. Again.
Thank you, Your Honor. City Council. Following is an update on projects in the city, DPW projects. New substation is still underway. They're putting in the CTs, which are the meters for the substation, but they'll measure the energy going into it. The substation still won't be energized until September 19th. AMI project, I know it's been perpetual on here. Always there's an update, and this has to do with supply chains, meters. We're getting more of them in, but now it looks like August of 2023. That's when they'll be mobilized and installing the new meters. This will be a complete meter change out. Then all the reads will be coming into the base stations. And then with that, City Council will be seeing changes to the rules and regulations because with these meters, there's now you can remotely cut off. So we have to look at, we can only charge what is fair. So our cutoffs might actually be only a $5 charge because now we're not sending people out there because you just be able to do it at a computer. So those are some of the things City Council might see with this program. It's not just about cutoffs though, it's about later on with this program, we'll be able to, once it's been for a year, we'll have portals for our citizens to log into to see where they stand, bill-wise, how they're using their energy. We can also, through third parties, implement systems to where people can pay as you go per month. That was the one thing I really thought was interesting. You could pay as you go per month and just keep paying on it. And if you don't pay it, it automatically shuts it off. So some of the few things we can do, plus with the AMI system, we could look at the street lights. That's another thing. We can actually, with this system, we can utilize and dim the lights. I actually seen one where they actually did a strobe for emergency evacuations. That's something we can do. Plus, we can also have on there our lift stations, elevations of our tanks. So it's a multi-tool we can use. Cost of service study for the electric. We're still working with United Financial Solutions on the cost of service study and financial plan for our electric system. We're just about there. Once we have it finalized, it'll go in front of the Board of Public Utilities and then in front of City Council. Aylworth non-motorized pathway, it's completed. Yes, looks very nice. They did a great job. Thought it was going to be tricky going by the gas station there or the gas facility there, but they did a great job. I think they did. With that was the CMAQ money that we received. So we received $134,783. Our plan is actually to apply again CMAQ funding for the other half and then make this continuation to the existing bike path. So then it'll just keep completing. The next step, actually trying to get all the way to Aylworth. We haven't put those numbers together yet, but that's going to be a little more costly because of the elevation changes, especially the closer you get to Monroe. A couple of the properties step down quite a bit, so there's going to be it's going to be a more expensive project. Air handling units for City Hall, they are in. We're waiting actually on the access hatch to be put in. Once the access hatch be put in, we can dismantle the one that's up there and put the new air handling units in. Kids Corner Phase 2, we just talked about the Spark grants that are coming out. As of today, they're opened. Staff did submit for a Timken grant for $39,900. That's to cover the 2 of the 5 to 12 age play areas in the base line bid. So that was submitted just recently. beach safety program, we have finished the interview process and offers have been made to qualified candidates. I think we still had one more interview to go, which would be 8. Matt's been doing a great job. We got the life rings in. He is, once we get staff in, we'll do some training with them, and our beach safety program will be underway. DPW locker room renovations, as I discussed earlier, we finalized the plans. There was one slight revision, and that was just to an anticipation of the ADA regulation. We know it's in the works and it's going to be approved, but it's usually about 5 years. I didn't want to put something in that within 5 years it would no longer meet ADA, so I went ahead and made it for what was applied for, just to make it so we can have a more sustainable building that's not outdated within a 5-year period. Wastewater treatment plant project, the plans are complete, and we're going to be preparing to go out for bids. That project plan actually includes a new clarifier system. That will be UV disinfection. Currently, actually, the wastewater plant disinfects with chlorine gas. Chlorine gas. They're 100-pound cylinders. We'll be eliminating those. The UV will actually be better. It'll take care of more microorganisms, so cleaner water discharge. With the clarifiers, actually, it's going to help our microbiology and help us grow better bugs, so to speak, to make it even cleaner water that we're discharging. Water reliability asset management plan. Safe Water Drinking Act requires us to update this every 5 years. We're updating this now as we speak. Drinking Water State Revolving Fund. Last meeting with the South Haven Area Water Sewer Authority, we did approve a project plan, so we'll be submitting that project plan to the state for DWSRF. What we're applying for is all of the projects that I've been talking about replacing the concrete standpipes. So the elevated storage tank that would replace that, the DPW building, the pump station over off from Baseline, the improvements actually around 73rd, the demolition of this. What this plan will do is we're applying for the plan. With that will be the lead service replacement. You apply for the plan, yes, for a low interest loan, but also will there be loan forgiveness? It's the only way for us to get federal grants. You might have heard me talk about this before. There'll be existing arms that the state has. This is that arm to get the federal monies, is the state revolving fund. So we already got it with the Clean Water State Revolving Fund. Yes, they call the wastewater now clean water plants, so they no longer call it sewage. It's the whole thing. No, we won't be changing the name of the plant. It'll still be the wastewater treatment plant. But the drinking water, we're hoping to get some, and I think we have a pretty good shot. I've done quite a few articles, talked to a lot of press. I've had the state over there just showing them the concrete falling off. I really think them will be an advocate for us. I'm hoping even if we can get 30%, that would be great. The cost of service and rate design update, updated projections, we're working with UFS. We should be getting those shortly and presenting them to the SHASA. What that is every year we look at, the rate study shows here's what your rates are, and projecting about 5 years to reevaluate them once a year and check actually how are you doing? Should you be? It's just a good practice to do. Once we have our electric one done, I'll be recommending that to City Council, is to look at that every year to see how our projections, not just to sit and approve it and then 5 years later look at it. Have them update it and look at it every year. Look at what expenditures we have, and if we can make adjustments down or minor adjustments up. It's better to do that than to 5 years later try to make those adjustments, then you're making these huge ones. Street resurfacing plan for spring of 2023. Yes, Lee is on there. It will be done. Lee Street from Grange Street to Cherry Street, Florence Street from Green Street to Lee Street, Sunset Drive from LaGrange to Elm Place, Broadway Street from Elm Place to Phillips, Elm Place from Sunset Drive to LaGrange Street, Wells from Park to Black River and North Street from Park Avenue to Black River. With that also will be the lead service replacement within those, as well as we've expanded that, and we're actually doing those and picking our worst areas and increasing those contracts and eliminating of the lead services. If you're contacted, you'll get actually a letter in the mail from us saying you're a candidate, but if you have any questions, feel free to give me a call. Last but not least, the splash pad will be open May 5th.
Well, actually, May 12th now.
May 12th, I'm
It's a little,
sorry.
it's going a little cold this week, so we might want to push
Say,
it back.
Bring
That's
your
right.
parka.
That's right. We had an email out about that. My apologies. DPW Employee of the Month is Michelle Coffey, and a new employee, Todd Bloomstein, who actually used to be an employee but came back to the city. We're actually able to get him as a line person in the electric division. So he comes in with, we already paid for his training to get his journeyman, so now we're utilizing it again, and we don't have any costs associated to doing that, so.
Nice.
City Council have any questions on these projects?
Questions? Thank you for Lee Street. We can all, won't get run out of town.
Yes.
Um,
Congratulations to Michelle Coffey.
Yes.
Yeah, she's amazing.
She is. I had a fascinating discussion. We were out doing a site visit with one of our car dealers, talking about electric vehicles and the fact that they had to spend a lot of money on a transformer. And I thought, oh, we're going to hear about the transformer. That was the least of their concerns. I was floored at the amount of money they're required to put in compliments of the dealer, or the
Oh.
parent company
Yes.
to get these up and running. It is, wow. I'll just say wow.
Yeah,
They got
and
to
he
make a
got-
lot of money off those cars. That's all I got to say. That was just, I think, of one little dealer in one little town and multiply that across. That transformer, didn't blink an eye at that. But
Gotcha.
anyway, I was just fascinated. And on a good note, System Components went in for a site visit last week, and the plant manager could not say enough about the electric utility. They put in a phone call, had a challenge, and within 15 minutes, your folks were there, it was fixed, and they were up and operational. So they were extremely grateful for the prompt service, as always, which we hear over and over and over again at our businesses, how good you guys are. So thank you. That's it. Appreciate it. Have a great night. And that'll take us to citizens in the audience. What do we got?
City manager's comment?
Oh, it's citizens on the.
Oh, no.
Oh, my bad.
You're going to try to cut out Kate? No, I'm just kidding.
Yep.
Citizens in the audience who heard on items not on the agenda. So if you'd like to come on up, state your name, state your address, you'll have up to 5 minutes. And good evening.
Good evening again. Nancy Nat, 125 Elkinburg. Need to pull up my notes here a minute. I am back again tonight to talk about beach safety. Odds are that I will be told, thanks for your comments, asked to sit down and nothing will change, but I'm still not giving up. Bottom line, there is no immediate emergency response on our beaches. Code enforcement officers hired by the city are not required to have first aid and CPR training. Licensing and certification are, and I quote from the city website, quote, "You must have a valid Michigan driver's license and a good driving record. CPR certification preferred," end quote. Not required. If there is an emergency, who is there to provide immediate response? Sadly, the answer is no one. You have less than 3 minutes to save a person who is drowning. I've been talking with city staff since November about getting beach safety put on the agenda so that we could get things like trained eyes on the water to provide immediate response. Beach safety was not put on the agenda until March of 2023, and City Council approved the 2023 beach safety program partly because they were running out of time. Last Friday, we had a demonstration of a remote-controlled flotation device called an Emily. Jeff Lohman from the UP came out and demonstrated this flotation device. It is another tool that would enrich our current beach safety program in conjunction with having the United States Life Saving Association licensed open water trained lifeguards. The remote-controlled flotation device range in price from $14,000 to $17,000, depending on how it is equipped. I'm here tonight because many in attendance and watching may not have heard Jeff's generous offer. The city is being offered this motorized life-saving device for free. And in his own words, I had him record what he is willing to do, and I'd like to play that for you now.
Summer season, and just let me know how much it helped them.
I'll start it over.
It's going to be, well, you know, if South Haven decides to put lifeguards here on South Beach or North Beach or both, I'd like to leave and Emily with them for the summer. And all they have to do, free of charge, wouldn't charge or anything, just leave it with them for a whole summer season. And just let me know how much it helped them. Maybe a little, description of when they deployed it and how it worked out.
It's not too late to make the changes and have our beaches in South Haven the safest in Michigan. I asked the City Council to take Jeff Lohman up on his offer. We need immediate emergency response as part of our beach safety program. And at the present time, we do not have life-saving capabilities in under 3 minutes, which is the time needed to rescue a person who is drowning.
And I do appreciate your comments. And I will just say our Shays members have a program in place for this year, and we will follow that program and we'll assess at the end of the year. So.
Good evening. I'm Annie Brown, 114 Michigan Avenue, and I'm running for South Haven mayor. My husband and I have been year-round residents for more than 35 years, and we love South Haven. I'm running for mayor because it is time to put our pedal to the metal and get to work. We have a lot of exciting projects and priorities on the horizon, and I'm ready to get to work. My kids will tell you I'm not a very good cook, but I do know how to keep 4 burners on the stove going at the same time and come out with a pretty good product. But when people use only 1 burner for one issue, like short-term rentals, all you can do is boil water. We need to get to work on expanding housing, not just for the missing middle, but for the single mom who is withdrawing her students at the end of the year from South Haven Public Schools and moving them to a Berrien County school because she could not find affordable housing in South Haven. That is a loss of about $30,000 for South Haven Public Schools every year. I'm going to work to keep South Haven vibrant by increasing good-paying jobs and making economic development a priority. Finally, I will work to find a happy medium between the demand of short-term rentals and our year-round residents who keep the lights on during the winter. I was the first director of the Lakeshore Convention and Visitors Bureau. I know the value of tourism and hospitality, and my superpower is talking to strangers in South Haven and being welcoming. It can be hell to be popular, and that's why we need boundaries. Tonight, a short-term rental owner is hovering like a vulture over the home of a senior citizen who lives on Social Security and whose home is on the slippery slope of foreclosure. That kind of predatory behavior will not be permitted in our town. Fortunately, and I hope that that is rare. When I'm elected as mayor, I will work so hard at listening to our year-round residents while maintaining our welcoming reputation as one of the top tourist destinations in our country. Thank you.
Thanks, Annie. Appreciate it. Anybody else? Going once, going twice. Good evening.
Diane Carlson, 74 South Haven Street. I'm not running for mayor.
Congratulations.
We live directly across from 62 South Haven Street, which is the corner of South Haven and Chestnut. This is an STR. It's in the process of getting a driveway put in. Besides us, my husband and I, there have been several concerns raised by many other residents regarding ordinance violations at this site. Unfortunately, it doesn't appear that these concerns make any difference or resonate with the city. The project has had constant rework, which in turn is due to incomplete plan details, although the plan was apparently approved by the city. We inquired as to the status of the STR permit that was on hold for over 18 months, and yet they were still able to continue renting. The entire project has had no oversight or inspections except our observations and that of other residents. The city has been conspicuously absent throughout this entire process. It's been over 6 weeks now, and the driveway is not done yet. Even when we pointed out our safety concerns with respect to the Clear Vision corner and the fact that it is one of the busiest corners from both a vehicle and a pedestrian perspective due to the close proximity to the blue stairs, this point seemed unimportant and or irrelevant to the city engineer. A discussion with the zoning administrator revealed that because the ZBA denied this STR's request for a variance for the STR ordinance requiring on-premise parking, the city, they felt that they needed to try to be fair to the STR owner and allow some leniency for the driveway, AKA non-compliance. We received the same fairness response from the city engineer as well. When we brought it to the city engineer's attention that the driveway, the plan is not within code, he had no comment. So we asked him to confirm that he was not planning on making them comply, and he admitted that the city had no plans to follow up. Why? Although this driveway is being constructed because of the STR ordinance, the STR ordinance has nothing to do with the requirements to put in a driveway. The South Haven zoning ordinance that should be equally applied to all of us is not being enforced against this STR owner. Is this right? This is like 77 Clinton all over again, where variances were not enforced. What is it going to take to have our clearly written zoning ordinance fairly and equally applied to everyone so the residents do not suffer from non-complying construction that is deteriorating the character of our neighborhoods? By the way, we still don't see that the driveway is to code yet, but they're ready to pour the concrete, so I guess it's a moot point. The city is updating their ordinances so that there's a height cap on new homes, so the houses will fit in with our neighborhoods, and yet we have a really nice neighborhood that will now have a house with a 3-car driveway. It's a tiny, tiny little house with the driveway in front of their yard. Is that part of the vision that the city is aiming for? And I would love a comment on that from somebody, but thank you.
Appreciate it. Would you like to-
I do know that the city engineer and the zoning administrator have looked at this, and when it was brought to our attention, we were out there right away. This was brought to my attention during first week in April, so I know that we've had lots of communication. I'm not going to characterize what has gone on, because I'll have to review it with my team, but I will make sure that city council is updated, and we will definitely reach out to Ms. Carlson.
Okay, very good, thank you. Anybody else? Going once.
Joe Wilkins, 811 Indiana Street.
Good evening, Joe.
I'm sure I have other opportunities to do this, but I want to thank Mayor Scott for all the years of service that he has rendered to this city.
Thanks, sir.
My prayers are with you, Mayor Scott, and your family. The last 3 to 4 years have offered a lot of challenges to our city and residents. And to be honest, many times I lost confidence in the processes that would bring about positive changes for the betterment of our city. But I want this council to know one thing that I've never lost confidence in, never wavered, never lost faith in the residents of this city. South Haven has some of the most caring and supporting residents of any city. I remember, and this is a personal story that I don't share with everybody, but I remember a time as a kid in high school, my family and I was completely burned out in a house fire. We lost everything, everything. I remember having no clothes to wear to school. I was a junior, started on the varsity football team, had no cleats, nothing. Before the end of the next day, our neighbors and several citizens of this city reached out to my family to help. Excuse me. It was a very trying time for my father, who worked in a factory. Started there working there for making $54 an hour, raising 9 kids. That's what neighbors do in neighborhoods. That's what neighbors do in neighborhoods. I believe that's when our city, our neighborhoods are our neighborhoods are challenged the most. That's when the residents of this city is at their best. Just like my neighbors who stood with me and my family in 1983, and I have no doubt in my mind that the residents will continue to stand for positive changes and for what's best for our city. We can build a better city. We can build greater neighborhoods when we work together with everyone in mind. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. Well stated. Anybody else? All right. Miss Kate.
Thank you, Mayor, and City Council. Despite the weather, the winter-like weather out there, city staff have been working hard at preparing for the summer season. That's changing from what we do, which is clearing snow, picking up leaves, to opening bathrooms, opening up the marinas, getting ready for the beach safety program, and also the splash pad. So as Bill mentioned before, the splash pad should be turned on by next Friday, 5/12. Hopefully, it's a lot warmer than it is right now. I did want to thank you and thank everybody here, and I thank very much the council for the proclamation recognizing public service. This is not always an easy job, but we have 90 people who work here full-time, and we're bringing on another 60 people who will work here during the summer. They can be somewhat thankless jobs, and we know that we're trying to hear, what we try to do is serve the public, no matter where they're coming from. We're here to help. I did also want to say that I appreciated everyone who came out to the STR workshop last Thursday, April 20th, or actually 2 weeks ago. I did want to mention that the links to the presentations and the video are up on the city's website, so please check that out. City staff are reaching out to council members and the facilitator for our next STR workshop. Those are my comments.
Very good. Thank you. Appreciate it. Any questions for Kate?
I just have a quick question. Do you know when the public restrooms will be open, or are they open already?
I'm going to guess if they're not heated, they're probably not going to be turned on until next week.
Okay, thanks.
Good question. Council comments. I'll start on my right. Mr. Reeser. Good evening.
Just 2 quick comments. First one is beach safety. I was down there Friday also, and I saw Emily, the mechanical robot that can save lives. And I remember one statement from the gentleman said they've never had a drowning where Emily is on the beach. Now, I'm assuming that's accurate. That's pretty amazing. So I don't care if it's 12,000, 14,000, or 17,000. And I know this sounds a little trite, but how much is a life worth? And to spend that money, if that will in fact work, as that gentleman said it would, I think that's a good investment for this city. Even if we can't do lifeguards, and that's going to be another year away, we could make this decision very quickly. So I just hope this comes before City Council and we can do something. I was really impressed. The second one is when Diane stood up about the neighbor putting the driveway in. I live very close there, and I've been kind of quiet about it. For two reasons. One, I find this whole issue of zoning so complicated that I'm a fairly bright guy, and I usually, if I don't know something, I can learn it pretty quickly. I still can't get my arms wrapped around all this zoning. So, Kate, I'm hoping you get on this quickly, because when Diane compared it to 77 Clinton, that really bothers me, because that's an example of things went wrong and we had to undo it at a cost to the city after the fact. So I have confidence that you're going to get on this right away so we don't have another situation where we have to undo something, because it doesn't seem right to me so far. But again, zoning is so complicated, so I'm just asking you if you could give this a high priority to get this decided one way or the other. Thanks.
Thank you, appreciate it. George?
So since the last city council meeting, I had the opportunity to attend the Capitol Conference put on by the Michigan Municipal League, and it was a good opportunity for me to see other city council members, other members of staff and other communities, and listen to some good workshops on different things. One especially struck me was on housing. It's an issue across the state, across the nation, and it's going to be a challenge to try to improve the housing situation, but I think we can do it here in South Haven. We just need to work together and come up with some good solutions. So that's it.
I agree. Thank you. Ms. Wayne?
I just wanted to thank everyone for coming tonight and sharing your comments with us. And I also was down on the beach last weekend, saw the Emily rescue item, and I was so amazed by it, and I really do think it has the potential to help a lot here. So I second Joe's comment about trying to make that happen before summer starts. I think the cost is reasonable, and that it could just be such a big asset here while we don't have lifeguards. That's it for me. Thanks.
Thank you.
My comment's just kind of a self-serving one, that the seniors have 8 days. The senior class of 2023 has 8 school days left. The prom's this Saturday, so watch out for the sharp-looking kids getting their pictures taken with the lighthouse in the back, and look forward to all the fun stuff coming with the senior parade that we voted for, and then graduation's on the 21st, right? The 21st, I think it's Sunday the 21st. So just a fun time for our kids. Those are my comments.
Just a thank you to everyone that filled out the applications to run for public office, city councils and mayors seats. I think there's probably going to be some runoffs, and I think the city can probably post that information on their website. I think that's going to be in August, I would guess. Things of that nature, so stay tuned, and thank you for your offering your services.
Just want to thank everyone for coming out tonight, and excited about seeing the juniors and seniors for the prom this Saturday. And the teachers are also counting down for summer break.
Bet you are. Very good. We'll start with roads. Gladly's getting done. Encouraged by how quick they're doing the state's doing the work. The fact that the Blue Star Phoenix corridors open back up, nice to see. And just everything, it's looking good. So glad with that. Again, bike path, already seeing people off the road and on the path. So very nice to see that's happening. Yes, nice to see some mayoral candidates. I am not running again. I want to thank everybody. It was a very tough decision, but in the end of the day, my family will prevail, so I will still be around to help. And my mom has a no-fun diagnosis, which we're going to work through as a family. And my kids are also looking forward to me visiting them at college, I'm sure of it. So that'll surely have their dad fly on in. But not a lot of fun. We'll have a lot to do yet by the end of this year, so stay tuned. I guess I was also at the beach when we did the Emily thing, and I don't want to oversimplify that purchase. I mean, I think we have first responders that would have to see that thing demonstrated on a non-media day, and on a like let them kind of get their hands on it and see it maybe on a day when it's not flat. And I think there's a lot of things that we should consider, and I worry about a stat that says no one's ever drowned. I don't know how many days deployed, conditions with lifeguard without, so I don't want to put it out there that we're not putting something on the beach that would save a life. I mean, that's not at all. So, I mean, if our shade staff gets more information on it, if they feel it's of benefit to the beach safety program, of course we would do that. So I agree, it was interesting, so I want to add with that. And thanks for coming, and have a great week, and I hope it's warmer the next time we all meet up. I will see you.
Oh, can I forgot to say one thing is, I won't be at the next meeting. I will be in Japan, so.
Oh, nice. Very fun.
Yeah.
Well, safe travels, okay.
Thank you.
I'll still seek a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session.
Closed session.
Steve
I
said,
almost got to go home. Good point, wait, hold
Steve
that.
said closed session, I will second.
Motion and second to go into closed session. We need a roll call.
Schlack,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Arnold,
Yes.
Onuki.
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes, this will end our live broadcast. At the end of this, we'll come back and officially close the meeting. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night. I almost left.